Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murder of Marlon Usher. Usher was shot and killed on Saturday, June 12, 2010 in the 4000 block of Don Tomaso Drive in Baldwin Hills, according to LA County coroner records. Demetrius Crosby, William Otley, and Maurice Williams were subsequently arrested and charged with the murder. The following is the evidence at trial. On June 4, 2010, Walter Yates was walking near Highland Avenue when he was approached by a man with a gun. The assailant, later identified as defendant Williams, was accompanied by two unidentified males. Yates complied with the assailant's demand to hand over his bags, which contained a computer, his contact information, and gym clothes. A few days later, Diana Hendon purchased a computer from defendant Williams. After finding Yates' contact information in the computer bag, Ms. Hendon offered to sell the computer back to Yates for $1,700. On June 8, 2010, LAPD Detective Dave Vinton recovered Yates' stolen laptop from Ms. Hendon's car. Defendant Williams was arrested for robbery the following week. Upon examining defendant Williams' cell phone, Detective Vinton found photographs of Williams' Camaro and of defendant Crosby, whose phone number was listed under his gang moniker, HK Baby Sneak. Detective Vinton also found a text message in Williams' phone that caused him to contact South Bureau's Homicide Division. Vinton inquired whether any murders involving a Camaro had occurred over the weekend of June 12 and 13. As will be discussed, the inquiry proved to be relevant to the investigation of the June 13, 2010 shooting of victim Marlon Usher. At 2:30 a.m. on June 13, 2010, victim Usher was shot and killed on Don Tomaso Drive by three men in a Camaro. The first officer to arrive at the scene, LAPD officer Jesse Rosales, found no weapons or shell casings. Shortly before the shooting, the victim was a passenger in Ms. Aguilar's car, a Toyota Corolla. Ms. Aguilar was parked in front of an apartment complex on Don Tomaso Drive, where another passenger, Lacey, had exited the car. Ms. Aguilar was arguing with the victim because the victim was refusing to get out of the car. He had been drinking heavily. The argument attracted the attention of Mr. Jones, a resident at the complex who had just arrived in a taxi. Mr. Jones, who was watching from his balcony, saw a familiar car, a Camaro, parked in front of the complex. Mr. Jones recognized the Camaro because of its special rims and rally flag on the side panel. Mr. Jones also recognized one of the three men in the Camaro, defendant Crosby, who was a friend of a neighbor named Skyler. As Ms. Aguilar was trying to get the victim to leave her car, she heard the victim yell, "Mind your business," at one of the men in the Camaro. That man looked at the victim in an unfriendly manner and gestured toward Ms. Aguilar while talking to his companions in the Camaro. Ms. Aguilar, who was frustrated by the victim's refusal to get out of her car, began driving away. The three men in the Camaro drove after the car, maneuvered in front of it, and stopped at an angle that blocked the road and forced her to stop. The driver of the Camaro, later identified as defendant Williams, and the victim got out and began walking toward each other. The Camaro's passengers also got out and ran towards the victim. When Ms. Aguilar saw that the Camaro's rear passenger had a revolver, she quickly backed up her car, turned around, and drove back to Lacey's apartment. When she got there, she heard gunshots. As she called 911, she heard a second set of gunshots. The victim sustained one gunshot wound to the abdomen, a gunshot wound to the back of the head, and several gunshot wounds to the back of the torso. There was an abrasion on his knee. There were no eyewitnesses to the shooting. However, a nearby resident, Ronnie, heard a man begging, "Please don't shoot me, don't do this to me, don't do me this way." Ronnie then heard another voice say, "No, not this time, blood." Later that day, defendant Williams reported to police that his 1995 Chevy Camaro with license plate 5HP Z083 had been stolen at 2:30 a.m. that morning. In the police report, defendant Williams identified defendant Otley as his nearest relative. On the day after the shooting, Detective Vinton arrested defendant Williams for the robbery of Yates. As previously discussed, that arrest led to the recovery of photographs from defendant Williams' phone, as well as a text message and other information that caused Vinton to ask homicide detectives in South Bureau about a possible murder involving a Camaro. After receiving information from Detective Vinton, Detective Linda Heitzman, who was investigating the victim's death, visited the home of defendant Williams' girlfriend, Ms. Bonner. At that location, Detective Heitzman found defendant Williams' Camaro partially covered beneath a tarp. The Camaro was dusted for fingerprints, and defendant Otley's print was found on a compact disc inside the Camaro. Detective Heitzman interviewed witnesses who had reported seeing a Camaro on Don Tomaso Drive at about the time of the shooting. Several witnesses identified a photograph of defendant Williams' Camaro as the same vehicle that was present around the time of the shooting. In June 2011, a wiretap was authorized on defendant Otley's and Crosby's phones. After a warrant was served at Crosby's home, several phone calls were intercepted between defendant Crosby and a woman named Diamond. Those recordings were played at trial over the objections of Otley and Williams. During one of those phone calls, defendant Crosby stated, "I think the homie snitched on me. It's a murder case though. The homie who was there went to jail for it and they tried to put it on him. Cuz was there and he went to jail and they tried to put the murder case on him. After he got out, they came to my house today for a warrant and they came thicker than a motherfucker. I got a warrant out for my arrest. They want me to do a swab and I'm like, nope. They did my brother and they did the homie and they said, I guess now they say they want me. I'm not about to do that shit." When asked whether he was going to run for the rest of his life, defendant Crosby replied, "I'ma have to, Diamond, cause I did it." Police determined that Metro PCS was a cell phone service provider for phones used by defendants Crosby, Williams, and Otley. It was ascertained that service for defendant Crosby's phone was terminated prior to the shooting. However, the phones for defendants Williams and Otley were in active use at the time of the shooting. Metro PCS records showed that at 2:30 a.m. on the night of the shooting, defendant Otley's phone was traveling in a southbound direction from a cell phone tower located near Don Tomaso Drive. Cell phone records also showed that defendant Williams' phone was used shortly before the shooting in the vicinity of Don Tomaso Drive. LAPD officer Rene Santos, the prosecution's gang expert witness, testified the territory for Five Dudes Broadway gangster Crips is located within Newton Division, where there are 70 gangs within 9 square miles. Defendants Crosby and Otley are self-professed members of the Five Dudes Broadway gangster Crips. They were seen together on several occasions by LAPD officer Mario Ligak of Newton Division. Defendant Williams is a self-professed member of the Long Beach Rolling 20 Crips. The shooting in this case occurred in Black Pea Stone's territory, a blood gang. Crip members who travel into rival blood territory are likely to carry weapons to defend themselves. Officer Santos was presented with a hypothetical situation that tracked the main facts of this case. A person in the car shouts something disrespectful in confrontation with the 3 gang members. They chase him down in their car and confront him. One gang member immediately goes up to that person and is followed by the other 2 members. The 3rd gang member has a gun and shoots the victim. Officer Santos testified that in this scenario, all 3 hypothetical gang members are acting to benefit their respective gangs and in association with their gangs. Following the trial, the jury convicted defendants Williams, Crosby, and Otley of first-degree murder and convicted defendant Williams of second-degree robbery. Criminal street gang and firearm allegations were sustained as to each defendant. Defendants Crosby and Otley received sentences of 50 years to life. The sentence consisted of the base term of 25 years to life with a consecutive firearm enhancement of 25 years to life. Defendant Williams received a sentence of 110 years to life, consisting of the base term of 25 years to life, which was doubled because of a prior strike to 50 years to life, plus a firearm enhancement of 25 years to life, and 35 years to life for the robbery conviction. Marlon Usher was 30 years old at the time of death.